Hi there, it's Mark Wickersham here, and in this video I want to share an interesting finding. I discovered recently that in the US they are better at pricing bookkeeping services than countries like Canada, the UK, and in fact the rest of the world. And that kind of intrigued me. I did a survey a little while back in 2019 where I studied and surveyed 2,683 accounting professionals. I wanted to find out exactly how, as a profession, we price bookkeeping services, and even more significantly, I wanted to find out exactly how much, what are the exact prices that the best firms are pricing their bookkeeping services. Across the 2,683 people, there was a mix of accountants and bookkeepers, and you can see on the screen here that particular mix. And what I did with the data, when we got the data, my team analysed it, and as well as looking at things like how much we price, what pricing methodology do we use, I also broke the data down into different countries because I wanted to discover, is there a significant difference between how people price in the US, for example, versus those in Canada or those in the UK? What differences do we see? What about the results they get? Are they getting better prices or lower prices? And one of the things we did right at the very heart of the survey is we took a series of scenarios of different client examples and asked, how much would you price for this particular type of bookkeeping client with this number of transactions? And we did that over a number of different scenarios. And what we were able to do with that is then take those numbers and create what we called a portfolio price. What I mean by that is, if you had that mix of clients that we used in the survey, what would be your average price for those clients as a portfolio price? And then what we could do is, having got that portfolio price, we could then do some interesting analysis to find out, how do prices compare? For example, how do prices compare between different countries? And when we looked at the US compared to the data as a whole, the global data, we found one of the biggest differences. We found, as you can see on the chart here, that when we looked at the data, and what we did with these portfolio prices is we ranked them so we could see who was the lowest price, who was the highest price, what was the average, the median, and what were the second and third quartile, or the first and third quartiles. And that's what the bars are showing on each of the left and the right of the chart. If we take the ones on the far side, then that's for the global data, and the red bar is the person at the lowest level, the gold bar is the highest level, and then we have the quartiles in between. And what you can see from this very easily, you can see that when we looked at the data just for the firms in the US, at whatever level we looked at, the prices they were charging for bookkeeping services were much, much higher than everybody else. Why on earth is that? Why are the Americans better than the rest of the world? It was particularly concerning for me. I'm from the UK, and I was actually saddened to see that in the UK, the accounting profession is pretty poor at pricing bookkeeping services. Whether it's accountants or bookkeepers in the UK, we are lousy at pricing bookkeeping. So what is it that the Americans are doing different? What can we learn from the US? So I looked at the data to see if I could see patterns. And one of the things I asked in the survey was, I asked, how do you price bookkeeping services? What methodology do you use for pricing? And when we looked at the global data, what we found was that 40% use hourly rates. They bill based on the hour, they create an hourly rate, they add up the hours on their timesheet, and then they send a bill to the client. Which is not a great way of pricing, but that's the way that most of the profession, or the biggest proportion. We then have seen in the survey that there's a big shift over the last decade or so towards flat fees or fixed pricing. And we found 34% gave a single fixed price. And then we found that some people have moved to menu pricing, giving choices, options, which is a first starting point towards value pricing. And then we looked at some have actually built in some value pricing systems. So you can see on the screen here the split with the population as a whole. And when we looked at other countries like Canada, the overall results didn't differ that much from the global population. But in the US, we noticed something very significant. See, in the US, we found that when it came to hourly billing, it was significantly less of the accounting profession over there billed based on hours, just 25%, just a quarter of people use hourly billing. And yet all the other pricing methodologies, we see much more instances of fixed pricing, much more instances of using menu pricing, much more instances of using pricing systems. And when we looked at all the different reasons, this was the one that seems to explain more than anything else why they are charging higher prices. And so the conclusion I take away from this is that not only are they better at pricing in the US, and therefore we should learn something from what they're doing over there, but also what's very clear as well, it's more proof that if we stick to hourly rates, hourly billing, we're going to get worse results. If we want to get better prices, if we want to make more money, if we want to make more profits, we need to shift to at least giving a fixed pricing, or better still, start to look at value pricing. If you want to find out more, then somewhere on this page, probably below, I put some links to some other free resources you can grab to help you price your services, and in particular bookkeeping. I've also put a link where you can grab a complimentary copy of the research studies, a 36-page report going through more of the findings on how the profession prices bookkeeping service. And if you want the full report, the 96-page report, there'll be a link in that link. You can purchase it as well if you want the full report. But I would start with the free one. It's free, so why not go and grab that now? Bye for now.